Well, we're going to try something new, something different.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost have this sense of slow, low, lots of space,
Mm-hmm.
lots of silence. And I really don't know how we're going to do this, but I'm game. And welcome, welcome, welcome. We are starting a new challenge, and we're going to be discussing this book, which will take us, and by the way, look at my notes already,
Nice.
which will take us, if anything, at minimum a year and a half to finish and complete. So wish us luck. We don't know where we're going. And welcome to
Mm-hmm.
this new space. And how do you feel, Eric?
Um, how do I feel? Hmm. Well, when I read this, I had a number of emotional reactions.
Same.
I was very happy for the most part, and then he started talking about the role of religion and how they benefit from making you feel like you're immoral and that you have to get rid of your sin in order to attain whatever. Um, yeah, and my eyes welled up with tears. Like, oh. For one, like the personal standpoint of that's how I've felt for a lot of my life early on, but also just kind of like the sadness for that's if that's what we call goodness in the world. Like we look at, from a very zoomed out view, you could say that religion is an attempt to find God or to seek God and yet it's where it's where so much betrayal and ignorance exists. And not to the fault of anyone because I think as Osho says here, if they had the techniques, if they were taught the techniques or if they were guided through practicing them as a science and encouraged to let go of their beliefs, which are really just attachments, then potentially you could be changed. And maybe that's a good place to start is his emphasis on the need for change. I'll try to find it here.
Hmm.
Yeah, the difference between philosophy and Tantra. Philosophy is all about your head and your mind, and Tantra is about your totality. It's something deeper, and it requires you to be transformed. There's nothing else. So, what are your thoughts? What are your feelings?
Feelings. I mean, I, like you, had a lot of openings. Like as I was reading it last night, because I knew I wouldn't be able to read it this morning. I was like, okay, well, this will
Smart.
be a really, yeah. And it took me a long time to read it because I had these like aha moments, and I love when the text bring this like revelations inside, which are very unexplainable.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just take a step back to say very emotional
Mm-hmm.
and very there's a lot of grief that I felt while
Mm.
reading this.
Yeah,
A lot of nostalgia, as if I'm missing a part of me that had been hidden.
I have goosebumps when you said that because I felt the exact same way.
Yeah. And I was thinking, I was like, okay, well, it does speak in many formats. It speaks about not formalizing, structuring it logically in dogmatic, philosophical way where our mind is thinking through it. And you and I are very much trying to put the poetry through the language for such states
Mm-hmm.
that are unexplainable. And I love that I was at the same time afraid to not be able to
Mm.
anymore put words to experience. I was also angry because he says, don't try, don't even
Mm.
try to do it. And then I was also relieved at the same time because it's the invitation is to deeply experience and allow everything to show up,
Mhm.
everything that wants to show up through this. I was also proud because, okay, in the end, there was this encouragement, keep going through the book, something will click. And when it clicks, it just clicks.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, I was excited about it. So it was very, very emotional. And it's the first, it's not even a meditation. This is just the explanation. We're yet to dive into it. So I'm very open to mess it up.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love
Right.
that.
Yeah. And one feeling that I have through even because I just finished the corporate meeting, which was very dogmatic and very authoritative and very structured and against in this way. And it was like, okay, well, I need just 5 minutes to come back to a softness. And as I sat there, I made a coffee. I sat there here and I was like, okay, let me just reread what I highlighted last night and immediately invited the
Mm.
softness in me. And such a gentle approach to self and inner states that it's almost meditative in its nature.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a have you listened to one of Osho's talks before?
Yes. I mean, he has a lot, but not too. Yeah. Go ahead.
Have you listened to a full like hour and a half? Um yeah, there's definitely like a transmission to it if you're in that state of receptivity. Of course you can put it on and be busy or be distracted and not really feel it, but he when he talks about the the tantra work with Shiva and Devi, he says there's a transmission between lovers, is what's talked about. And Devi is sitting in Shiva's lap and asking these questions, which are at the root philosophical. And he says, but they're not asking as normal people would ask, they're asking as two lovers. And in that state, more is being said in the spaces between the words than the answers themselves. And I'm like, just, there's just so much like richness. And of course, I think where we're going to get spun up is you and I circling around just the transmission itself, like the feeling, the state of consciousness, or what he talks about just going beyond. So, like, we touch the beyond and we come back, and then I'm like, let's talk about what we experienced. And even in just reading this, it's like there's a level of
Mhm.
going beyond that is transmitted. It's like you can feel the technique working in just talking about the techniques. And then, just real quick, maybe should have done this in the beginning, but there, I just want to lay this out for people if they don't have this book or they're like, they are following us and don't care to read it themselves, it's fine. But there's 80 chapters that we will be going through, and then there's 112 techniques, and they're sprinkled throughout. So this chapter didn't have any, and then there's some chapters that will have like two or three, and these techniques are meditation techniques, so we will have to like do them outside of these talks, and then we'll have more to kind of discuss and bring to the table. Like, did that work for you? Did that click? And he says, if anything clicks, you'll know it pretty quickly. So he says play with the techniques, just go in with a playful mind, don't be serious about it. But if anything clicks, then grasp it and take it seriously and devote some time to it. So to lay that out, it's like you and I are going to go through these 80 talks. Maybe we discover something that clicks and we go through it. And then I was kind of, he says, stop playing with the other techniques. So what might happen is like if we're on 20 and you say, I found the one, I'm like, okay, great. We'll continue doing these talks, but I won't be able to really share with you from a shared experience level like the other techniques if I'm still playing through them, which is totally fine. So, like, again, being open, being feminine, having fertile ground, that's the approach that I intend to bring to this time with you and this time with this book. And I think this is gonna pair really interestingly. It'll be interesting to see how our Gene Keys talks kind of shift or
Change.
transform through this work.
Yeah. And to add to that, and thank you for setting up the stage and intention. It's very, I think it's very important to really drop into the heart because Jinkies got us to that point where instantaneously we open the space and we drop into the heart of rawness and truth as it shows up to our own selves.
Mm-hmm.
And also the intention to not have a goal, not to get to the end, rather than just allow the journey to unfold itself. And
Mm.
my intention with this is very much to take it as slow as it desires and it's showing myself to for it to be. So I think committing is structuring it rather than, how did he mention, rather than allowing it to wander
Mm-hmm.
off and become um, on its own term as the force or essence or the power that I know I will struggle to define it, and also want to take it very slow and honor and respect both sides of whatever processes that we're going through because life will happen,
Yeah.
and also this will change the life and the way it's happening. And I already feel the settlement into the patience for it, that it's very
Mm-hmm.
different from the Jinkies because Jinkies is very philosophical in nature and this is very experiential. It's
Mm-hmm.
invitation for it to be very experiential in nature. So as we go through these meditations and techniques, which I didn't even bother to turn on the page ahead of the time to think about it, what it is, it will be really cool to try to invite through our own experience as example, if possible. But yet I can't commit to it yet. I cannot promise that is going to be what I can promise is just to show up openly, to receive, to exchange, and to simply make love to it. Yeah, really cool. So
Beautiful.
I hope we change by the end of the book.
Oh,
So how do okay,
I
let
already
me
feel changed.
and how do you, and also want to add one thing, which I think it's very important. As we experience the changes with the tools that we already have at our disposal, you have your own ways of settling into the change and reprogramming the beliefs, the system, the nervous system, everything inside of self. It's very, very important to, in vita, in practices for somatic experiencing and reprogramming off from the inner out, which is very tantric in nature. The invitation is to locate these
Mm.
sensations. So we give the bottom up approach, meaning locate them and feel, like you said, you just felt like numbing and you felt like the chills. And it's very important that we bring this up. So I really want the mind to learn the changes of the body
Mm-hmm.
as they're experienced in the moment that they're experienced. So I really want to invite you to voice it and use your vagal nerve to reprogram through these 12 months or whatever, 80
Mm-hmm.
pages, and to actually name them and name the sensations in the body, because naming them and making the sound of what is happening is by default changing the state of the concept in the mind. So very, very important. That's the thing that I really want to do when the transmission happens. I really want to make sure I am aware of it and give it a moment for it to be felt in the body, so that I can feel the transmission in the body and make a different sense of it in the mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like a deep sigh. Like this.
Yeah, anything.
Whatever comes up. It's
Yeah.
interesting because the techniques you said you didn't peek ahead, but I know some of them because I've I'm trying to remember. I listened to these talks. I think I got through like 32 or so,
Oh,
and I was trying some of the techniques, and they're really varied. Like you think most people think meditation, and they assume a certain state or silence or no movement, and yeah, there's a lot of interesting approaches to Tantra, or I guess Tantra has interesting approaches to.
do you want to give it just a splash of what we should be expecting when it comes to techniques?
Um, they I will have to have for some of them I'll have to have Carly drop me off in the jungle somewhere so I can actually do it. I think there's some where there's like well he spoke about this in this one. I'm trying to remember if this is part of the 112, but he says the only one that isn't in there that he kind of made up on his own is called dynamic meditation. And there's a certain music that you play with it. And then it starts with just like uh, as expansive of movement, sound, expression. You can call it
Mm.
dance, or if it's anger, you're just like getting it out for 15 minutes. And then you do like jumping, and then you do pretty intense breathing, and then you're laying at the end.
Mm.
Um, and in doing this before, I always felt like, well, what I feel in me that wants to come out, I can't really do because I have neighbors that are literally 10 feet right there, and Sometimes I'll hear them gripe about like the kids crying or something like that. So I have that in my mind, and I it prevents me from fully immersing in it and just trying, like just playing with it, like he says. So
Mm.
with you and I having a commitment to do this, I feel and I feel more courage now than I did before, whether that's my own growth, to just make it happen and like be more intentional about having the space, the set and setting be appropriate, and so that I can, just have a full experience.
Yeah. So you're saying there will be a lot of movement, sounding, screaming, crying, dancing. It's going to
Yeah,
incorporate. Yeah, it
depending on
depends
the
on the
technique.
technique.
And I believe sex is part of the tech. There's some techniques of sex, like within sex. So it's just like touches everything. Food, I think. Yeah, just a wide
Wow.
range of experience.
Great. Well, if you are ready, follow along and we'll see where we end up 80 weeks later or whatever, 112 weeks later. Okay. So,
I still By the way, I still have full moon in Aries. Like I can still see the edge of it as it's going down.
Which I think it's also funny that we're starting it on a full moon
Yeah.
in Aries,
Hmm.
which is massive. And it's just forward movement, not too much thinking, just going through. Okay. So I highlighted a lot of things here.
Hmm.
And I really like the challenge, how he challenged originally the technique of Tantra in general as a science rather than philosophical thinking. And I like it because it was such a slap in the face. I thought making a philosophy about everything is opening the space for a
Mm.
concept to expand itself. But yet, this was such a slap in the face in a good way because I felt like I needed that perspective in order to not think of everything in an objectified, mythological, or
Hmm.
potential imaginary, dreamy, visionary way, rather than
Hmm.
just to stick with facts. And I think me as Pisces, you as Pisces as well, we tend to fly off and tend to really take off in imagination a lot, which I really love how this was very grounding and very, very, very harsh in many ways. Because I started reading Tantra earlier this year, and I have been in a program that is deeply rooted in his teachings, actually. Yet I never understood it as a technique to use, that it's very black and white, rather than understood it as an opportunity to enter into the space that it's outside of my physical and awareness, right? My physical means and awareness. So I really like the slap, and I like that mirror. I was very much nope. Come back to it. This is all you get, and this is all you get to work with. How did you understood the introduction, and how did you feel when he actually made a very sharp move to say this is not a philosophy? And if it is, and if you can justify anything with your words, then you're blind. Don't think you see.
Yeah. I just love it. I just
Yeah.
felt I felt love blooming and blossoming. And because when you say, like when I read for him, the division is like philosophically or totally. And for me, sometimes when like we say to each other, or when I say to myself, like, go to your heart, what's your heart say? Um, like pinpointing the heart, I can't always connect with it immediately. It takes some time, or I have to like breathe. But when he says like totally, the word totally or existentially, I automatically feel like my whole body move in like around it, almost like hugging it or being consumed by it, and
Mhm.
the heart naturally comes online. So I find it there's something with Osho where the words he uses and how he says things, where it just you kind of just feel an opening. So for that, yeah, I'm like recognizing how long I've been in my head, and even the desire to philosophize about it, and it's part of the I will say this, part of the openness I feel though is like this does require courage because you have to let this go. And then all of a sudden I feel how the mind is a tool for safety, is a tool for comfort. And part of that letting go is like it's continual death, going back into the body, being present, and the dropping of ideas. And even in saying like going into the body later in this talk, he talks about how when you're I forget the word, but when you're in the state, you don't recognize that you have a body. Like as you go into the beyond, when people go into the beyond, they say to their helpers or to their disciples, they say, "Where is my body? Please find my body." Or "Where is my head? I don't have a head." And I think the reason for saying that was when you get to that point, that is actually where, like, that is the way I understood it is that is the fertile ground of when you've dropped so deeply into the beyond that you're not even thinking about identification or not identifying. You're not thinking about, am I in my body, am I in my heart, or in my mind? You're not thinking about, am I present right now? Like it's just occurring. And so I feel a sense of excitement and also, like, I don't know if you can tell from my energy, but I'm pretty nervous.
Me too. I was just about to say, I was like, I saw myself biting my nails and I was
Yeah.
like, I love it. I love it. And my I am trying to grab onto something. And when I'm grabbing onto something, I'm looking, my mind is frantically searching for experience where it lost itself. And I love that he opens it up through the true love. And I don't know that I experienced the true love, but what I can recall is that I have had states in
Mm-hmm.
my mind where I no longer thought. And I desire deeply in this, like deeply in this area of my body to dissolve with in such an intimate connection with another human being. And I spoke about this a lot because it's almost like the only time that I can recall having such state beyond my personality, beyond my thoughts, beyond what I knew, was to surrender to the experience initiated through the intimacy with another. And as if I was invited to enter into total surrender and blend and merge, which I almost teared up when I read last night because I understand it on that level because I crave it. I crave to get to that
Mm-hmm.
beyond the comprehension states. And I can only attain those states when I am in love and capital L, when I experience the essence of love deeply as openness with no boundaries and also the ending because I am the ending into that openness because once I open and enter into the space without the end I feel the ending,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's almost like it's not I'm about to get off the cliff or fall into the abyss, but it's in many ways that's how it feels. It's almost like I'm completed.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier the totality of that. It's like I love the simplicity of the words that he explains when he talks through love like that. It's like it almost makes me want to cry because there's this like very I gasp
Mm-hmm.
because I am afraid to desire it.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds me of Rumi and how he speaks of such states of love that are beyond the comprehension, where he almost writes the point is like, I am afraid to even call it the divine.
Mm-hmm.
Be-
Yeah.
because calling it divine, it limits it to my mind
Mm-hmm.
rather than allows it to be much bigger than me.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah. Just echoing the as we enter into the world of Tantra, like the frustration with discussing it. Yeah. Like, what is language?
We we knew that this is gonna really confuse us. And but It's the willingness to become this feminine side of receptivity and really change the dynamic of our minds and how we think. And I think this is why this just feels very right to do now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Is frustration making you uncomfortable, or
Um, no.
I guess what makes you
Yeah,
uncomfortable?
potentially. I'm just notice. I'm like if I look at my behavior and my words and my body language, I'm like, okay, Eric is nervous, and then I'm just like, okay, I have to let go. Um, yeah,
I
but I
have a
find,
question.
yeah, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead. I'll keep it.
Okay, just keep it for a moment. I I agree with the sentiment around going so deep into love, and it is like a death. And then interesting how the question came up. The question came up around like, am I worthy? Am I capable? Can I do this? And also the part of you and I as Pisces that is like, well, I don't want to drop completely my ability to conceptualize, philosophize, and categorize, and because it's, you can call it an addiction if you want, but it's just like a fun part of this existence, I think. And even in parallel to this, I'm still gonna be exploring astrology and the gene keys and um I guess until I don't for whatever reason. But it's interesting that in approaching it, we kind of feel this apprehension. And then towards the end of this first talk, he starts talking about how you don't need to drop your immoral behavior, like your lust, your greed, your anger, how you bring it to tantra, because any attempts to drop those things are just, that's the false face that we put on. And that's when I started to tear up, because I'm like, everything everything else in life that you approach that is spiritual in nature, one way or another, kind of tells you that you need to drop your immorality. And this is the only one where it says, in trying to drop it, you lose the ability to see yourself for who you are, and you become somewhat false. You're
Yeah.
not showing up fully, you're not showing up as who you are. And essentially, I actually found resonance with astrology here, where he's kind of implying that if you're greedy, you're just greedy. And I'm like, well, I know I'm very lusty, and I know I'm greedy in some ways, and I know I can be angry. And I don't think he's saying like you will exhibit characteristics of a greedy person forever, even with tantric techniques. I think I think the transmission is actually, it's an illusion that you let go of it at all. It's still a part of who you are, but you find love despite it, or maybe maybe in going beyond, it's just there. It's like, and I'm trying to wrestle with this with myself, because I am playing with this level of deep acceptance with everything that I have and bring, and then also um more awareness at the same time. So in more awareness, I'm seeing more pain within me that's manifesting, and usually the primary way for me is in lust. And I'm like, well, I want to be a good husband, so I shouldn't be looking, I shouldn't be thinking, I shouldn't be fantasizing, but it just happens. And there's this like dynamic, but in all of it, I'm more and more just trying to be like accepting of, well, this is just happening. This is just occurring. And
Hmm.
until you get to that, I think that's part of the fertile ground, right? Which is like you are so open that you are even open to whatever it is that you're bringing to the table in this life that has been denied by society, denied by what is moral or immoral, or what you yourself have denied in yourself, what you've repressed. And some of these techniques that are more dynamic, that are more expressional, are, I think, why some click for some and some click some and some don't, is because we repress. Some of us are more repressive, some of us are more reactive, some of us have deep, deep trauma that was because of these denials or these, that play a role in that. So I'm just very I think the nervousness comes down to like I'm just so curious how this will all play out. And at the same time, it does feel like we're approaching a death. It feels like you and I just took 10 grams of mushrooms and we're like, so
Yes.
we're cool, right? Yeah, we got our music, we got our blankets, we're gonna be good.
Um, Thank you for sharing. I think that was because what's interesting, as you were sharing, I was just so tuned into it because you got tuned into trying to find the answer
Yeah.
and trying to almost justify it. So it's interesting to see the dynamic, but it's also interesting to feel the blending of the energies when we go to the head versus go to the heart. And I think this is going to be very persistent throughout the series that, like I'm going to try to understand. And one thing also that I notice is like when trying to understand the concepts that are outside of our mind's comprehension, I no longer battle I don't have the inner thoughts to add to what you're already saying,
Mm.
which I just realized. I was like, oh, I'm actually not even trying to dialogue with you. I'm rather tuning into as you start discovering these parts of you and you're starting to voice it. And what you said is like we're almost like both a bit freaked out with our minds because we're about to reveal a lot of these things
Yeah.
inside of us and also tap into unknown territories as we try to understand them. And I'm noticing the dynamic of coming back up again, dropping in, coming back up, dropping in. And I think this will, well, actually, I can't think. It's just what's currently happening. And gosh, I wanted to add something to the tantric way as well. It's like, and this is what is very hard, has been very hard to practice, um, and practice throughout Vita, right? Throughout the program. Inner acceptance
Yeah.
rather than accepting, of course, everything is going to be, most of it is going to be the inner process. But really, we know morally that we're not supposed to react into the external world in a certain ways because there's rules that we have to follow. But the battles inside are still inside. And I think
Mm.
this is very much the invitation that's how I perceive it and receive it as invitation to allow battles that come to my
Yeah.
awareness and
Yeah.
also learn to accept that, yeah, I do have the dark side, that it's very active, that it's very lusty, very jealous, very controlling,
Hmm.
and that voicing it in public like this, it's going to be a big, big challenge to even admit it. But I think part of that release or acceptance really comes with that acknowledging. I feel
Yeah.
like I'm in a meeting,
Yeah.
about to say that I am an alcoholic, right? So it's like I am an addict, right? So it's almost
Yeah.
like it feels very nerve wracking. And because the mind and ego doesn't want to admit that. So this will be a lot of battling and you and I doing this together, I think it already feels very safe to do this in front of you. Posting it on the internet, of course it doesn't. But if it feels right to do that, we will do that too, because it's all in that right moment of feeling.
Yeah. Well, let me open, and I'm gonna open this up to both of us. If at any point you feel that publishing is preventing the fullness of the experience or being able to drop in to the greatest depths, then I am totally fine. I would still like to continue privately, but if that, and that could be the nervousness too. It's like we're like well, I don't want to say parasites. It's like we're two creatures or animals, and there's a giant light on us, and we're in a maze, but there's no like corners to hide in. So we're just like, because we're just exposing ourselves.
Very much.
Um,
Mm,
and it's an intense way to show up. But I feel personally, I'll just say this, and then you can share how you feel, that I wouldn't, I would hold something back if I didn't have the light on me as strongly as it is right now. I would find a way to like, I would find those little secret, like, I put my toe in, I didn't jump in, or
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, at the same time, just to add to that, like acknowledging certain things in a public eye, even in front of someone, even in a private office of your therapist, really opens you up to a raw vulnerability. That if I don't have a self esteem to stand up on my own and I need that validation or acknowledgement from others, it's like I'm crushing myself down. So, and I think the Tantra itself invites awareness of the capacities inside of you to handle yourself,
Mm-hmm.
but not to disregard and not accept the parts of yourself, rather than to be aware of it. And that's why I said it's very internal. It's
Mm-hmm.
internal process of honesty.
Mm-hmm.
It's I That's how I'm feeling. It's almost like, yeah, I'm thank God I have the mind to stop me from saying something I shouldn't have said in the public, right? But I want to be able to internalize. I want this to open me up internally, so much so that when the book is closed and the camera is off, I actually want to be able to sit and accept these parts, because that's the tantric approach,
Yeah.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
to learn the dark sides and get to know them so well and be with them and honor them and allow them to be with you, rather than pushing them and repressing them on the side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I guess it's not that extreme because we're not filming ourselves doing the techniques.
Yeah,
That would be probably beyond what's needed. But
sure. So let's break the myth of feminine and masculine, since
mm-hmm.
we're all bisexual in nature per Tantra.
Mm-hmm.
I laughed at it. I was like, I knew it. It took Osho to say it. It's like, I've been saying this for all this time and
Yeah.
acting and living with it. I was like, I don't know. I can't say I'm just feminine when I also have the very big masculine energies inside of me.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that that was very much one example of, wait a minute, don't lie to yourself. If
Mm-hmm.
you're lying in public, or if you're forced to say so in public, it's like, at least recognize that you do have both sides of the
Mm-hmm.
energies that are in play inside of you. And you don't have to admit it. Nobody cares, actually, but you should care for you.
Yeah.
And I do very much.
You do very much.
I care.
Yeah.
To give a life example, just because he said not to give life examples. The other day I
You
was in a park. Oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead. Story time.
No, no,
I want
I
to
don't
hear it.
want to.
Yeah.
There was this male figure who became very obnoxious and predatory over a female figure in a park while I was walking the dog. And
Mm-hmm.
it was not mentally stable, you can see. But
Mm-hmm.
what happened is that in that right moment, because usually the prey becomes smaller and smaller and the predator becomes bigger and bigger. There's something that happens with physiology of a masculine, identified masculinity through whatever programming in general, or
Yeah.
that's just how you were developed and brought upon to think. But also, it's unstable mental states as well that bring you up. It's like there, if your mind is unstable, which means you don't know the structures, you become very big with this masculine energy. So the male was coming in, opening himself up like a bear. You're talking, when they come to attack, they stand on their legs, they open, and they just want to smash you, right? So it becomes very physically unattainable, physically really strong, which scares the nervous system of the female. So as he was coming at her, I saw it and I just turned around and I literally black out. What that means is that the energy inside of me turned into this physical equal. I was one third of this male, but I couldn't sense myself as a one third. It turned into a physical equal. I turned my entire torso towards him and I started going and I asked her, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Whatever." He's coming at her. She's becoming smaller and smaller. I'm becoming bigger and bigger. And I'm like, why did I have such reaction to defend someone who couldn't defend itself, right? So this like masculinity came to play, out of which fear was just gone. It's almost like, and I've done this all my life for some reason. It's where I no longer have a fear, rather than this masculinity warrior comes in place, and I would take a bullet. It blacks out, right? So in injustice, in the unfairness, in such an abuse, and it's almost like I will think about it later. But I'm aware that at that moment, none of the feminine is there to receive, rather than it's very much to defend and reflect back and reject it. So when if I'm aware that I have both energies in play inside of me, why would I want to just follow? Right. So it's very, very important to understand and also acknowledge that we both have them
Mm-hmm.
inside, that they both play a very crucial role in our understanding of ourselves. And also they turn on and off autonomously, right? So it's like, I don't even think about when they're on or off.
Hmm.
Just an
Interesting.
example.
Yeah. Yeah, there's I want to say that the masculine energy, not defining man or woman. I think the masculine energy feels very dominant in the world right now. Like it's like it's still being glorified, accepted and celebrated, and like even for like I guess the reason I'm saying this is because of all of the rebellions, all of the uh, social upheavals that are happening, the riots and like all over the world, Nepal, Serbia, France. Um, is that relevant? I don't know, but in men, as I've seen, it is I think just in the nature of what it means to be a man, or maybe this is a societal thing. It is very hard or foreign or just not even, why would you want to say that? To say that you have femininity within you, that you have feminine traits, or that you um, want to be held, or like anything that's not just like, I'm a man. No, I don't need that. No, we don't like, the stereotype is like, don't cry. And I still hear this in public, um, with how dads will raise their kids. And I'm like, you know, I'm like, this is so old school. It's so, you're blocking so much depth of what it means to be a human being and denying and repressing these attributes that are natural and that are, whether it's, you know, whether it's good or bad, it's just part of who we are. And so I think this causes a lot of pain in the world because there's a lot of men that don't accept this part of themselves. And then when it's repressed, it comes out in ways that are damaging, or, you know, you're expressing the pain. So all that to
Yeah.
say, it's like, I just want to, in a roundabout way, in a very feminine way, empathize with men for how hard it is to approach that and to admit it, or even to know what it is. Because in some something within us as men, we fear that there could be femininity with this within us, or bisexuality, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so just to say that. And then on a more personal note, in being gay, do you feel that you are naturally more masculine, or do you feel that you strike a decent balance between the two? It sounds like what you're saying is like one energy can come out, and then at a different time another energy can come out, and that you, it's kind of situational, kind of just depends on where you're at and what you're doing.
Okay. I love this topic. Love it. But I have never had a man actually ask me this. Usually women ask me this.
Mm-hmm.
And just to go back a little bit before I jump onto it, it's very important what you just said related to the males' rights. And what you also said is that you don't even know when you're acting out, and when you're not even aware, right? So the
Mm-hmm.
example that I gave was just one off example of the mentally unstable person, and
Yeah.
that couldn't understand the reaction himself because the rationality was not there. And it can be the abuse of drugs, it can be the homelessness, it can be very much a mental state, right? But I use the example that does not represent the male population at all. In the
Yeah.
world that is majority of the male population, I think the feminine rise of femininity and feminine energy is very welcoming, to be open to decode the male configurations. And granted, we don't even know what we are configured from. And I think it actually Tantra teaches this, that it doesn't come just with your own upbringing. It
Mm-hmm.
comes generationally. It comes in a very long period of time of programming and genetics, that we are simply come with a lot of fears, come to this world with a lot of already preset notions about the sense of safety in the world. So it's a very tender topic. And I
Mm-hmm.
do agree, like a lot of it is, much more of it is suppressed in the masculine genders, or
Mm-hmm.
male genders rather than the female, because for some reason, we feel more open now than before to speak about it and own it. And owning it is as if we are giving the example that we are accepting of you also having both, and also you being not being a breadwinner as example, or not
Mm-hmm.
standing. This is where this rise is coming in the generations backwards, for our rights, for to speak, to stand, to be, and to have the equality in it. So that way, as if we are forcing ourselves to be the example that it's okay to hold both. So this is a long, long time in making and reprogramming. So the fact that you're teaching, like that you're actually giving the example to your children every time you cry, that it's okay to cry,
Mm-hmm.
is everything, because you're already allowing them to feel and to feel their tantrums deeply, deeply. So that way they don't suppress them, as you're not supposed to do that as a boy, right? So I think just being a parent is a big obligation to give the example on the masculine side that his children and grandchildren will also follow. So big deal of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Do you want to talk
anything you
more
want to,
on gender?
I mean, anything you want to add on that or?
Um, it's just an interesting topic because there's clearly a shift happening in the world, and then all the prophecies, the gene keys, astrology talks about a shift in humanity, like how we become something. We have something awaken in us that, in my mind, leads to this evolution in what it means to be a man or a woman. And I think over time, according to the very long period horizons, like the yugas of Hinduism and what Richard talks about with Gene Keys, over a very long period of time, we get to a state of a blend of the two genders, and then eventually the like that we won't be having sex anymore, like it just won't be part of the consciousness. And so, and again, that's over such a long period of time. So to know how that plays out, or even if it affects our lives beyond what we're seeing right now, maybe it's just a continuation of what we're seeing right now. But I occasionally get, I think because of the topics of videos that I watch on YouTube, I'll get recommended videos that are pretty conservative, and there will be critiques about behaviors, and it's coming from a place of fear. And essentially, if you're coming from a place of fear or misunderstanding, then you can't possibly be in a place of love. It kind of has to be one or the other. And I feel more than ever that a lot of the division and the anger um, and the difficulty in people bridging the two sides is because there's just not really a desire to understand it. There's not really a desire to show up with this receptivity. And Osho talks about here when we're approaching this work of Tantra and the techniques, and even his talks, we must be like Devi in the lap of Shiva in a very feminine, receptive, open state. And how great the world would be if more and more of us continue to do so. But I also recognize that what gets clicks, what gets views, how the algorithm works, how human psychology works is in strong viewpoints and very abrasive takes and very combative ways of looking at the world, right? So it's like, well, unfortunately, as long as media exists, that's going to play out. And then we have in our private worlds, I'm sorry, I'm just rambling here. Um, like in my world, we were at Target the other day and there was a man dressed as a woman, and Luca was like, "Why is he dressed like that?" And he asked it very outwardly, and I was like, I actually hope that he or she or they turns around and has a conversation with him, with Luca. And I'm like, because I want there to be like, this is part of reality. This is what's happening right now. And I want there to be just a conversation. And just like when, to be frank, like the kids grow up and mom and dad have white skin and they have white skin and their neighbors have white skin. And then the first time they meet someone with brown skin, they're they ask a question that's uncomfortable for the parents or for the people that are not used to it. And it's like, it's okay. It's like you're in a state of wonder and this is a new experience for you. I acknowledge your question and respond with the truth. And that's all we can do. But I think what happens in media is there's no space for wonder. Yeah.
And to tie back to it, he also says is that we cannot, and here's my hope, don't buy the news. And I think we're actually not buying the news because they're forced upon us, meaning we're news are mirroring what we need to see. And
Mm,
as he mentions, like, I need you so you can mirror exactly my trigger.
mm,
And if I see in the news and I feel very uncomfortable with it, it's showing me something about me too. If I see something in the news that it's so conservative and I disagree with it, it's actually showing me what I need to stand for. Aubrey Marcus's podcast, very good. We hit the nerve when we, even ours, right? So you don't, when we had this short with lots of comments that were not nice, right? That we hit the nerve, almost, it's almost like invitation because of the short and completely out of context. Like there's no story behind it, that it's
mm.
to their awareness, right? So they only received what we gave, which was 30 seconds of the clip that was totally out of the entire concept and what was the story about, right? And rather than reacting to it right away, it's an invitation to come back and see what does that mirror inside of you. And I think a lot of people are
Mm,
realizing that exact thing because we need that mirror in front. We need to see it in
mm,
front in order to self reflect. It doesn't
mm.
happen maybe right away, but it will
Yeah.
happen the more we see it. So I think all the demonstrations around the world are also coming from the goodness of the heart because it's almost
Yeah.
like,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's almost like there's this invitation inside that is a reflection of the actual states of us, of me. And I can just speak inside of me. It's like the reason why I reacted to such an abuse was because I don't agree with it. And something he needed to trigger that part in me in order for that stance to come to the forefront. So, yes, I reacted to it. But even if I didn't react to defend a woman who was much weaker, also froze. She froze. And I would never, I couldn't stand to watch the abuse in front of my eyes. I was the part of that environment. So something inside of me jumped to say no
Yeah.
and hold the justice of the humanists and human qualities and the justice for the humanists. I think it's uprising. So rather than watching the news and off, watching what the algorithm offers, because it offers the money for them, not what you, it's educational. It's also benefit for us to see how that reflects in it. And I love that
Yeah.
he's actually speaking about it. I need you to show me, be such a bad example so I can actually wake up.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you talk about, or you said this internal acceptance, internal love. It's kind of the foundation of Vita. And I had this temptation when approaching Tantra of like, okay, I'm just gonna accept all as it is. And so if there's abuse happening in front of me, that's just an emanation of what it means to be alive in this world. And it's like, well, in some part it's true, but if you're there and your body says no, and your mind says no, and your heart says no, your whole being says no, but then you tell yourself like, hush, hush, like we're just accepting, we're I think of like you you think of like a hippie, like the stereotype of a hippie is just like it's all love, even when it's not. But
Mhm.
it's almost like in you stepping up, and it was kind of without your ability to control it, but you stepped up and you took a stand for something, and in that you're have this internal acceptance of who you are. Go ahead.
I love it because I think
I feel actually what counts more is the internal progress rather than the external reaction. And you know how we're also programmed to think God there demonstrate in order to show
Mhm.
your support, or if you have the massive following, you should be showing the
Yeah.
support of something. We always fall for the same thing. But my support actually means much more inside of me because I'm raising the frequency on, I'm actually contributing with different frequency to the collective more. Yes, I will do the right from wrong in my direct physical environment, but Elif Shafa, okay, I
Yeah.
can go on and on and on. She speaks about building the bridges, but building a bridge is not only by having the intention, but also feeling that I need to bridge the gap between the hatred between ex Yugoslavia and like countries. Why do I hate you? I don't hate you. I actually have no sense of hatred towards you. And though I'm told I need to hate you, I choose inside not to. Will I respect not coming into your country? Sure, because I can endanger my
Yeah.
physical environment
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you can, your conceived notion can endanger me.
Yeah.
But deep inside, it's like, I don't see a point. So to me, what matters is more like how you process these things and find the love for it inside in your inner world that you go with in a bed every night and you sleep into that frequency.
Hmm.
That's the hard part to do. That's, I think, it's Tantra too. It's like, yes, you can love everything that is currently happening. You can find the meta love. That's the meta love that they're talking about. It's like you can find the meta love into accepting that the evil and good exist in the world too.
Hmm. Yeah.
But the point is to find it, not to think, oh, I love it and I accept it.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Right. Yeah. By the way, I've been to your country. I don't know if I just realized it like a week or two ago.
Hmm?
I was looking
When?
at the map when I did my travels through Europe, and I'm like, I did go to Serbia for a little bit, just a little stop. It was like
Nice.
overnight. I thought I was taking a bus, I think to Poland, and I thought it was just like straight through in the night, and then they just dropped. We went into Serbia, and they dropped me off. I don't know. I don't. I'm trying to remember all of it, but do you think that these Eastern European countries, and there's other places in the world where there's a lot of tension and such close proximity. Do you think it's because of the repressive nature?
It's all propaganda. It is actually the
Mm.
forceful information. It's a teaching, but you're also, it's systematic, right? So it
Yeah.
comes with the books in the kindergarten. It comes with, because I'm a
Yeah.
teacher, I chose the books for my children. And when I chose the books for my children in the school, I chose it as a teacher. And then we're all aligned at the school level and then on the local level and then at the country level.
Yeah.
We never, we never taught our kids persuading the hatred towards anybody, right? So, but that's our history.
Yeah.
And when it's systematic in the mind of a child. So, and just to exit from politics, just to speak from how I was raised in divorced family. My parents divorced when I was 2,
Mm.
and I actually never lived with my father. But my mother never, ever once taught me or told me to hate the
Yeah.
father. And I don't know of hate, right?
Yeah.
So I am not taught and programmed to hatred. So when I
Hmm.
go out there and I'm like, oh my God, you and I are the same skin.
Hmm.
They're like, wait a minute, your country killed my. It's like, wait a minute. No, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about something larger than
Hmm.
that. And that comes back to the previous question, is that how do I differentiate what part of me is acting up in the world? And when women come to ask, hey, how do you know this is the love? What is your role in this same sex relating? Right, same sex relating, and who plays masculine? It's a very typical question, and I think it doesn't apply when two women come and meet
Hmm.
out loudly, but yet it applies and it blends in and out.
Yeah.
It's a play and a dance that happens on an energetic level.
Yeah.
And a lot of women come with questions and a lot of fear that is, oh, I'm supposed to do this. but I
Right.
can't. So it's a repressed. And I think a lot of males are coming with that too. It's like, oh my God, I can't. Culturally, socially, I can't accept this. So boom, first level in the mind is wrong. And for it, everything is wrong. I cannot
Huh.
be attracted to the same sex, right? Or same genitals or find any type of attraction. And then there's a heart that comes in and says, oh my God, but I feel a different connection with the person who is able to drop deeply and feel me and almost like tune into my energy from the heart, see me as a soul. And that comes from the mind down deeper in that level. That's another thing. Energetically and on a genital level, it's a totally different thing too. It's like, what are your genitals actually getting? Do you know the language of your genitals? Do you know that just statistically, it's just to say that a large, if not very high percentage of women, I can't even go to that point. It really bothers me a lot. It's like that don't understand the language. Not only women, but the males don't understand. Do you have to go?
No.
Oh,
I'm on a podcast. I told you.
hi.
We're recording.
You guys are gonna have to cut this part.
Oh
Why?
no, we're talking.
Oh,
Why?
well, you're still here. I'm just saying we're recording.
Ah.
Yeah.
Oh, we're
She's a
not
little,
cutting it.
she's a little jealous. No.
Aw. She should come and join. I think she has a lot to say on this because she understands her own body and the body needs. And if I say no to sex simply as a woman with a man, and if I say no and I feel no, yet my genitals are saying totally different thing, it is still no. It doesn't. This is where the rape happens all the time. It's like you can't even, like it's very, very touchy subject, but it's invitation. It's almost like firing me up a lot to a lot of anger and a lot of like, like
Yeah,
different
well,
programming. But what I wanted to just point out and say, I'll
Yeah.
come back to it.
I'm gonna jump on that, but I'll let you say this point.
Okay. It's the internal understanding. It's like it's a language, the invitation to understand these different layers of languages. And when I understand out of what part am I acting or living or showing up, then I will also understand what is my energy playing in it. Because if I'm coming out of the mind, yes, I can still provide for the family and play that role of a masculine, if so. But when it comes to the deeper levels of intimacy, there's no such thing. It's like it's almost it disappears, and the masculine turns into a big protective space holder for something else to come and bloom, which is the only way the feminine can actually come in and surrender. But that's a totally different topic.
Yeah. Yeah, and the lovers come together and there's a state of going beyond, and there's beyond definition. And I think, of course, each party brings some masculine and feminine, but there's like you said, there's like I don't know if it's conditioning or what's been passed down through culture, through our depictions of sex in movies and TV and porn. But it is really wild how pervasive the I don't know what you call it, like the misuse of sex or the abuse. Like I don't, you could frame it however, but um, to make this more personal, just a moment, Melissa. Yeah. Hi, Jave.
They're up.
Look how happy.
Hey, buddy.
I'm doing a podcast. Okay, I'll be out in a minute. Just a second.
Wow. Ooh, we're already an hour and a half.
Yeah. Do you need a
Okay.
wrap?
I don't. Do you?
No, I don't need to. Should I? I don't know. I want to bring personal example, the most recent personal example I can just so that it's not us speaking like metaphorically or like look at how bad the world is. Um, Pretty recently, I've for as long as you've known me, you've been like, you're not like most men. And I'm like, okay, I take some pride in that. Like I have a softer approach. I can be, I like, I kind of know the feminine state within me. I'm more aware of it. But even despite that, um, sex for me has been, there's just been moments where I wasn't attuning to where Carly was before dropping in. And then just to put it plainly, if I'm not attuned to where she is, anything beyond that point could be classified as rape. So it exists within marriage and it exists within loving relationships. And it exists, there's some level of responsibility on the part of the women in not knowing and just not being aware. It's like the responsibility is there, but there's just ignorance. So she can't claim she doesn't know any different. Like for Carly, she's like, I didn't know that I was supposed to be turned on and ready and willing the whole time. And so a lot of our marriage was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. She doesn't know what she's doing. And unfortunately, this is the way that we learned sex. And to no fault of our own, that's just how it went. And until recently, she even still has this kind of programming of like she was programmed pretty young. She was taught that if she wants to keep her boyfriend, her first boyfriend, then she needs to do these things. She needs to be available whenever he wants. And even recently she like I was like desiring her, I was approaching her, I was flirting with her, doing this, dancing with her, touching her. And then she's like, okay, come on. Kind of got in this old patterning. And I started to engage with her and I was like, are you like just checking in? I kept checking in. She's like, you're killing the mood. And I'm like, I'm not killing the mood. I'm sensing that there's no connection here. And I cannot, now that I know how great it can be on an emotional level, I can no longer, I can't say ever, because of course, and being a man, whatever, but it's very, very hard for me now to get in that space and not have it just be like total rapture, total, like if I don't feel her total surrender because she feels safe, because her mind is turned off, because she's in a good space, then now I'm like, it's okay. Like, it's okay. Let's just, can I just hold you instead? Can we talk a little bit? And it's actually more uncomfortable for her to drop into talking or to just being held, or to maybe she's just like, I'm just tired. I just want to sleep. And I'm like, okay, I have to like take a little ego hit. This isn't about me. This has nothing to do with me. So I just want to share that because while for most of my life I've desired to be the perfect husband, in a lot of ways I haven't done that. I've failed in a lot of ways, but having grace for myself, that internal acceptance, and just saying, this is just part of who you are. Like, as long as I've known myself, I've had lust, I've had pursuit, the predator aspects as part of my being. I don't deny it. I just recognize that it's there, so that now that I see that part of me, I can also see when she's not in a place of receptivity, and then I can engage on a level of empathy. And I think that's what's missing. I think empathy is really missing.
Mm. Oh, such a good share. And just to add to that, it's like a lesbian deathbed is real too. It's a real thing. And it doesn't come
Dead bed.
just with the dead bed, it's called.
I love that.
And it's a real thing. And it actually shows that it doesn't come just with the physical attraction of just, getting turned on either. Oops. Oh, okay. What that means is that there's layers that need to be
Yeah.
slowly approached to on both sides. And I just recently had the interview with a therapist, and she speaks, it's like men doesn't have female body. They don't know what
Yeah.
feels good. They only know what feels good to them. And so you're right. It's our responsibility to come in and actually approach it with first understanding ourselves. But the question is, how do I know what I need?
Yeah.
And when you learn your own pleasure. And the way you learn your self pleasure very much reflects the way you make love. And if you're able to self pleasure and have the practices of finding the pleasure in your own body alone, it actually reflects how you make love to your beloveds too. How deeply you can get into your inner states of pleasure. And it can be even intellectual mind stimuli. It can be the physical stimuli. It can be just a simple touch and embrace and hug. Is the way you're learning how to ask for it from another, or even better, show it to the other.
Right.
Very, very, very important. And we're not taught like this. We really are never taught this way. There's no school that explains the pleasure senses in the body, and there are many. So it is not, and I'll speak from my experience. It's like when deathbed happens, and you must, because that will hold the relationship, you must engage in one or the other way. It's, first of all, it doesn't work with women like that. We can't. When you can't, you can't. There's layers of, there's a different types of safety that I have to now discover in order to ask for them. And it's like, so we're way down into the earth when it comes to the Tantra and this, but I want to just come back to be able to tune into in such a deep embrace of intimacy with another, and be able to surrender in a vulnerability and get to the dissolve states of beyond the consciousness. I really need to learn my language. And I can't ask you to teach me, because I don't even know what I'm talking about when it comes to my own body. And to be able to blend in on the much deeper level of tuning into, sensing the openness, the readiness. First, there's no goal to get to. You have to say no to achieving anything, because we're not climbing any peak. We're actually just there exploring. And how does he call it? Wonder-filled universe. It's like, I'm actually just wonderfully curious about what turns me on, and I'm just going to show you. And maybe I can just stop and question your body and get curious that way and see where that leads, because I don't want to get anywhere. It is the first thing that I do with my partners. It's like, okay, when the desire and lust comes in and takes over the chemicals of the body, sure, if we're in a flow, we go from it. But most of the time, I'm just exploring, mapping. And the mapping itself gets you to places of wonder and surprises. You will be surprised, but the goal should be just mapping and playing and dancing.
Beautiful.
Poetry, poetic.
Mm.
Wow. We,
Took
yeah.
a rabbit trail.
Well, we tried really hard to stay, but so far so good. I am filled. My heart is filled. How
Yeah.
do you feel?
Me too.
Good try.
It'll be exciting to tap into the techniques. And next week, I will give myself more space to read. This morning, I was like looking at the time, and I read a page, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be behind. So I'm like reading like pretty intensely, but I was still having the transmission and the emotion and all of the things. But I just felt a sense of, or a desire to slow down into it, to absorb it more fully.
I think, yeah, this does require some more time to tune into it. And can I just say, it gets harder before it gets easier. So this was very hard for me, but we'll get there. I have a good feeling about it.
Can I ask you, what was it the reading that was hard, or was it showing up here today?
No, reading was easy. It was just, I think there's a sense of deep respect for these teachings
Mm.
because I'm not to philosophize, and yet we led to the real life stories very quickly. So it is hard to keep coming back into the self, but it's a challenge for sure.
Yeah. Well, all we can do is play. So
I wonder.
the foundation. Yeah.
Thank you. You good?
Good. How do you say goodbye in Serbian?
Ciao.
Is it ciao?
It's the best. Goodbye. Ciao ciao is goodbye and hi.
Oh, that's so funny. I thought that was Italian.
Ciao. Ciao. Ours is just ciao. Ciao.
Okay.
Ciao.